Each morning, before the world wakes, you are given a sacred moment, a chance to decide who you will be today. In that silence, before the noise of the world demands your attention, lies your greatest battle. It is not against other people, not against circumstances, but against your own self, your laziness, your distractions, your excuses. Every day, the mind will offer you a path of comfort, but comfort is not where growth happens. If you can conquer this small battle at the very start of your day, to rise with intention, to act with purpose, to silence the inner voice that pulls you back into weakness, then life begins to respond differently. Discipline is not about punishment, it is about alignment. When your actions match your deepest values, something powerful awakens within you, and that awakening, repeated every morning, becomes unstoppable. The one who conquers the self in the morning holds the key to success, not because of magic, but because they've learned how to lead themselves when it matters most. And when you can lead yourself, the world has no choice but to follow. Every day begins with a choice. Before the world makes demands of you, before messages arrive, before responsibilities press in, there exists a space, a quiet, untouched moment, where you determine how you will step into the day. In that space lies power. The actions you take within the first hour of your morning shape the momentum, clarity, and energy that will follow you for the rest of the day. Most people do not realize the significance of this window of time. They wake up reacting to alarms, to distractions, to routines that do not serve their greater purpose. But for those who seek mastery, for those who are on the path of discipline and growth, the first hour is sacred. It is not just the start of a new day. It is the daily reset of one's commitment to excellence. Discipline in the first hour does not begin with grand achievements or overwhelming routines. It begins with awareness. The awareness that every action, no matter how small, either builds you or breaks you. When the eyes open and the body rises, the mind must follow with intention. To conquer the first hour is to command the inner voice that says 5 more minutes. It is to recognize that comfort will always be waiting, but so will regret. Choosing discipline in those early moments is an act of reclaiming power. Power over time, power over thoughts, power over impulses. And with each choice rooted in discipline, getting out of bed with purpose, moving the body with energy, sitting in stillness to reflect, you set the tone for what kind of person you will be that day. Most underestimate how much energy is lost through indecision in the morning. They allow sluggishness to dictate their movement. They surrender to habits that create chaos instead of clarity. When you begin your day by controlling your actions, by structuring your time, by choosing presence over passivity, you awaken a different energy inside. This is the energy of direction, the energy of a person who is not a servant to circumstances, but a sculptor of their reality. To cultivate this discipline is not to add more to your morning, but to do less with more attention. A glass of water can be a ritual, stretching the body can be a declaration, silence can be strength. The first hour is less about checking boxes and more about preparing the instrument, your mind, your body, your spirit, to perform in alignment with your values. It is not easy. There will always be resistance. The bed will feel warm, the phone will feel tempting, the excuses will feel convincing. But the one who pushes through this momentary resistance begins the day already victorious. The world outside may present obstacles, but you have already conquered something far greater, the pull of your own lower self. And each time you do this, you build trust with yourself. You strengthen the inner resolve that says, I am not driven by feeling, I am led by purpose. This trust compounds. Over days, weeks, and months, it becomes identity. You begin to see yourself not just as someone who wakes early, but someone who leads with discipline, someone who keeps promises, someone who does not negotiate with mediocrity. When you look at the lives of the most consistent and successful individuals, whether in the arts, in sports, in leadership, you will notice one thing in common. Their mornings are not chaotic, their first hour is not reactive, it is grounded, structured, intentional. They understand that by winning the morning, they win the day. It is not about being better than others. It is about being better than who you were yesterday. And the first opportunity to demonstrate that growth comes the moment you open your eyes. It is easy to look at successful people and see only the results, the achievements, the confidence, the momentum. But all of those things are built on the invisible foundation of early decisions made when no one is watching. They are built in the silence of the morning, when most are still asleep, and the few are choosing to rise with discipline. There is a spiritual element to this practice as well. Rising with the sun, choosing presence before distraction, honoring the body and the breath. These are not just productivity hacks. They are ways to bring harmony between the internal and external world. The discipline you cultivate in the first hour reflects your reverence for life. It says, "This day matters, my time matters, I matter." When you begin from this place of internal alignment, the rest of the day does not control you. You are no longer drifting from task to task, trying to catch up. You are moving from a place of strength. You are responding instead of reacting. You are no longer running from yourself. You are meeting yourself fully, right where you are. And when the first hour is ruled by clarity, focus, and discipline, everything else begins to follow that rhythm. Each morning, before any decision is made, there is a silent battle taking place within. It is not one that can be seen by the eyes or heard by the ears, yet it determines the entire trajectory of your day. This battle is not with the world, not with other people, and not with difficult circumstances. It is a battle between two versions of yourself, the version that seeks comfort and the version that seeks growth. The moment you open your eyes, both sides awaken. One whispers, "Stay in bed a little longer. You deserve to rest. Start tomorrow." The other speaks with quiet strength, saying, "Get up. Move forward. Honor your purpose." Every morning, this inner conflict repeats itself. It does not matter how experienced, how wise, or how disciplined you become, the comfort zone will always try to reclaim you. The human mind, by default, looks for what is easy, what is predictable, what feels safe. It avoids struggle, it delays action, it seeks escape in small pleasures. This is the nature of the comfort zone, a place where nothing threatens you, but also where nothing transforms you. To stay there is to remain the same. To grow, you must step beyond it, and the earliest chance to do that is in the first battle of the morning. The alarm rings and the test begins. Do you serve your desire for ease, or do you serve your higher self? The people who achieve greatness, not just in their careers, but in their inner life, have mastered this battle, not by eliminating it, but by learning to overcome it every single day. They do not wait to feel motivated. They do not depend on perfect conditions. They have trained themselves to act in alignment with their values, even when they feel resistance, especially when they feel resistance, because they know that the path to mastery runs straight through discomfort. It is in these early choices, the ones no one sees, no one applauds, no one even knows about, that character is forged. When you give in to the comfort zone first thing in the morning, it may seem harmless. 10 more minutes of sleep, skipping the workout, ignoring the meditation. But what you are really doing is teaching your mind that your emotions have more power than your intentions. You are reinforcing a pattern of self-abandonment. You are telling yourself it's okay to break promises when it's hard. And the problem is not just in that moment. It's in the ripple effect it creates. Once the mind learns that it can choose ease over effort without consequence, it starts doing it everywhere, in your conversations, in your work, in your goals. Discipline starts to erode. Confidence starts to diminish. You begin to trust yourself less, because deep down you know you are not showing up fully. On the other hand, when you win that inner battle each morning, even in a small way, something powerful begins to happen. You start to shift your identity. You stop being someone who avoids challenge, and you start becoming someone who faces it head on. That victory might look simple from the outside, waking up with the alarm, putting on your shoes, starting your practice, but internally, it's a profound act of self-leadership. You are proving to yourself that you can rise above the momentary desire for ease. You are no longer negotiating with your lower self. You are walking the path of discipline. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't require you to be extraordinary. It requires you to be consistent. You don't need to win the entire day in one move. You only need to win the first battle, and then, from that place of momentum, the next decision becomes easier. The mind, having tasted victory, begins to trust that you are in control. Your energy changes, your posture changes, you carry a sense of strength into the rest of your tasks, not because everything is perfect, but because you have already proven to yourself that you are stronger than your excuses. There is something deeply spiritual in this choice. To wake up and go against the pull of comfort is not just about discipline, it is about honoring the gift of life. Every day that you wake up is an opportunity, a chance to build something, to become someone, to serve something greater than yourself. But these opportunities are hidden behind resistance. The universe does not hand them to you freely. It places them behind doors that only open when you show courage, and courage is not loud, it is often quiet. It is the silent moment when you say no to what is easy and yes to what is right. The morning is the gateway. It is where the tone is set. It is the moment where you decide if today will be led by fear or by faith, by habit or by vision. The comfort zone may always be waiting, but so will the life that is meant for you. The difference lies in which one you choose to serve. Choosing growth does not mean rejecting rest or rejecting ease entirely. It means you give these things their proper place. You don't let them lead. You let them follow. You become the master of your energy, not the victim of it. Each morning you have the opportunity to train this mastery, to strengthen your inner world, to sharpen your focus, to deepen your discipline. And every time you win that battle, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel ready, you build something within you that no one can take away. You become unshakable, not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. And it all begins with that first moment, the choice to conquer yourself before you face the world. The mind is a powerful force. It can either be your greatest ally or your most cunning opponent. Each morning, when you rise, your mind is already active. Thoughts begin to stir, emotions surface, and habits try to take the lead. If left unchecked, the mind will follow the path it is most familiar with, the path of least resistance, the path of emotional reaction, the path that seeks what is comfortable and familiar. But this is also where the true opportunity lies. Each morning offers the chance to train the mind, to direct it, to shape it so that it obeys your higher purpose rather than being ruled by your momentary feelings. When you master this training, your mind becomes a disciplined servant instead of a distracted master. To train the mind is to recognize that it is not naturally still, not naturally focused, not naturally aligned with discipline. The default state of the mind is scattered. It is attracted to noise, to stimulation, to shortcuts. That is why many people begin their mornings reaching for their phones, reacting to messages, diving into external chaos before they have even centered themselves. The result is that the mind becomes reactive. It chases after urgency instead of being guided by intention. But when you begin your day with the awareness that the mind must be taught to follow purpose, everything changes. You begin to lead instead of follow. You become the architect of your attention rather than its victim. The early hours of the day are the most fertile ground for mental training. The world is quieter, the distractions are fewer, and your energy has not yet been drained by decision fatigue. This is the time to set the tone, to give your mind its instructions, to remind it of who is in charge. This can be done through stillness, through breath, through movement, through journaling, through repetition of your values, anything that signals to the mind. We begin today with clarity. This act is subtle, but it is powerful. It creates a mental boundary that says, we are not available for chaos. We are not available for randomness. We begin from purpose. Emotions are temporary, but purpose is steady. If you allow the mind to follow your emotions, it will take you in circles. Some days you will feel inspired. Other days you will feel tired, unmotivated, overwhelmed. If your actions are determined by these feelings, your life will lack stability. But when you train the mind to follow purpose, to follow the deeper reason why you do what you do, then your days begin to align, not because every moment feels easy, but because every moment is connected to something larger. The mind begins to understand that discipline is not restriction, it is freedom. It is the freedom to act in alignment with your highest values rather than your lowest impulses. This training is not achieved in a single morning. It is not the result of one moment of clarity, it is built through repetition. Every time you resist the pull of distraction, you teach your mind that it does not control you. Every time you follow through on a commitment, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen the signal that purpose leads. Over time, the mind begins to adopt a new pattern. It starts to look for structure instead of escape. It becomes comfortable with silence. It becomes more focused, more resilient, more capable of handling discomfort without collapsing into it. This is not just mental discipline, this is mental liberation. When the mind is trained in this way, your external life begins to reflect that internal order. You make decisions more clearly. You waste less time in hesitation. You begin to see the gap between a thought and an action, and in that gap you find freedom. You are no longer dragged by every emotion. You observe it, acknowledge it, but you act from something deeper. The person who trains their mind every morning carries a different presence. There is calmness in their step, focus in their eyes, and power in their silence. This is not a performance, it is the natural result of internal structure. Many people chase after motivation, looking for the next quote, the next video, the next burst of inspiration. But motivation without mental discipline fades quickly. What remains is habit, and habit is shaped by what the mind is trained to obey. If the mind is trained to seek comfort, then even the strongest motivation will fade under pressure. But if the mind is trained to follow structure, to return to intention, to obey the rhythm of discipline, then even on hard days, you continue. You don't stop because the weather changed, because your mood dropped, or because challenges appeared. You continue because the path has already been chosen, and your mind knows its role not to question, but to serve. The greatest freedom in life is not the ability to do whatever you want whenever you want. It is the ability to do what is necessary when it is necessary, regardless of how you feel. That freedom is only possible when the mind is trained. And the training begins each morning, not in a dramatic way, but in the quiet decisions to rise with intention, to move with clarity, to act from vision. Over time, these decisions shape not just your day, but your identity. You become someone who can be relied on, not just by others, but by yourself. You no longer fear the weight of responsibility because your mind is no longer in conflict with your purpose. It follows. It supports, it obeys, and in that obedience it finds peace. When you rise each morning, you are not just waking up, you are stepping into the first and most important challenge of the day, the challenge of leading yourself. This leadership does not begin in the world outside. It begins in the quiet moments where no one is watching, where comfort calls you back, and purpose calls you forward. If you can conquer this inner battle each morning to choose discipline over delay, to choose action over excuse, to choose alignment over emotion, then success no longer becomes a distant dream. It becomes a natural result of who you are becoming. Discipline in the first hour sets the tone. Overcoming the pull of comfort defines your growth. Consistency in these small victories forges inner strength. And when the mind learns to follow purpose rather than emotion, you become unstoppable. This is not about perfection, nor about pressure. It is about the simple, powerful truth that if you master your mornings, you will begin to master your life. Because success, in its deepest form, is not found in grand outcomes, but in the quiet, consistent conquest of the self. Every single morning,